The recycled air of Starbase 9 carried the usual mix of engine exhaust and synthetic flowers, but today something else caught Lena Blackwood's attention, a scent like summer rain and ozone. She looked up from her datapad to find the source, a tall, silver-skinned alien with luminous purple eyes standing at her lab door. "I was told to find Dr. Blackwood," he said, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance that made her skin tingle. "I am Tarn." Lena straightened her lab coat, trying to maintain professional composure despite her fascination. In her 5 years as the station's lead xenobiologist, she'd never encountered his species. "That's me. Please, come in." Tarn ducked through the doorway, his movements graceful despite his 7-foot frame. Iridescent markings swirled across his skin like galaxies in motion. "I require medical assistance, but your regular physicians lack experience with my kind." "Sephirin," Lena breathed, recognition clicking into place. "I thought your people were extinct after the Nexus War." A shadow passed across his ethereal features. "Nearly. I am one of the few survivors." He held out his arm, revealing an angry purple lesion. "This appeared 3 days ago. On my world, it would be simple to treat, but here." Lena activated her diagnostic scanner, mind already racing through xenobiological possibilities. "May I?" At his nod, she gently took his arm, noting how his skin felt like cool silk beneath her fingers. The scanner hummed, collecting data. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your cellular structure is unlike anything in our database. The closest analog would be crystalline-based lifeforms, but you've clearly evolved far beyond that." "We are different," Tarn agreed. "My people developed abilities that others found threatening. It contributed to our downfall." The scanner beeped, analysis complete. Lena frowned at the results. "This isn't a natural condition. The tissue degradation suggests targeted bioengineering. Someone did this to you deliberately." Tarn's markings pulsed with a deep blue light. "I suspected as much. There are those who believe the galaxy would be safer if my kind remained extinct." "Well, they'll have to go through me first," Lena said firmly, already preparing treatment options. "I took an oath to help any being in need, regardless of species." His purple eyes studied her with an intensity that made her wonder if the rumors about Sephirin telepathy were true. "You are unusual for a human. Most of your kind fear what they don't understand." "Understanding is exactly what I live for," Lena replied, administering a broad-spectrum regenerative compound. "Fear comes from ignorance. Knowledge is the cure." As she worked, Tarn told her about his life as a refugee, moving from station to station, always one step ahead of those who wouldn't let his species rest in peace. Lena found herself captivated not just by his biology, but by his quiet strength and dignity in the face of persecution. "There," she said finally, sealing the healing matrix. "The lesion should fade within days. But I'd like you to return for monitoring. We still don't know who did this or why." "Perhaps it would be safer if I moved on," Tarn suggested, though she sensed reluctance in his tone. "Or perhaps it's time to stop running and make a stand," Lena countered. "Starbase 9 has excellent security, and you'd have access to medical care from someone who's actually studied your physiology now." His markings shifted to a warm gold. "You would help protect me. Despite the risk. That's what humans do. At least, the best of us." She smiled. "Besides, think of all we could learn from each other." Before Tarn could respond, the lab's security alarm blared. Lena rushed to check the monitor and felt her blood run cold. 3 armed figures in stealth suits were making their way through the medical deck. "They found me," Tarn said grimly, moving toward the door. "I should go before they harm anyone else." Lena grabbed his arm. "Wait. I have a better idea." She pulled up the station schematics on her datapad. "There's a secure research vault 2 levels down. The walls are reinforced against everything short of a plasma torpedo. We can hold out there while I contact station security." Why would you risk yourself for me? Because it's the right thing to do, Lena said simply. Now come on. And while we're hiding out, you can tell me more about those abilities that made everyone so nervous. As they slipped out the back entrance of the lab, Lena felt a gentle brush against her mind, a sensation of gratitude and wonder tinged with something else. Something that felt surprisingly like hope. The chase was on, but for the first time in years, Tarn wasn't running alone. And Lena Blackwood was about to discover that understanding alien biology was simple compared to understanding her own heart. The research vault's shadows wrapped around them like a protective blanket as Lena sealed the heavy doors. Emergency lights cast a blue glow across Tarn's silvery skin, making his markings seem to dance with an inner fire. Security protocols engaged, she whispered, checking the readouts on her datapad. The vault's shielding should mask our biosignatures. We're invisible to their scanners. Tarn moved silently to one of the observation windows, his tall frame casting elongated shadows. 3 hunters. Professional-grade weapons and armor. Not common mercenaries. Who are they? Lena asked, joining him at the window. What do they want? The end of my species, he replied, his voice carrying that haunting resonance that made her spine tingle. They call themselves the Purifiers. They believe telepathic races pose too great a threat to galactic stability. Lena's hand found his arm in the darkness. Is it true? About the telepathy? Instead of speaking, Tarn turned to face her. His purple eyes seemed to glow as she felt a gentle presence brush against her consciousness, like a warm breeze carrying whispers of thoughts and emotions not her own. Trust. Gratitude. Fear, not for himself, but for her. That's incredible, Lena breathed. Your people could share thoughts, feelings, memories. Which made us dangerous in the eyes of many, Tarn explained. They feared we could manipulate minds, steal secrets, control their leaders. The truth was far simpler, we sought only understanding and connection. A crash from outside made them both freeze. The hunters were methodically searching each lab, moving closer to their position. Lena's mind raced through their options. The vault's security will hold, she said. But we're also trapped here. Unless. She turned to the back of the vault where specialized research equipment sat shrouded in protective covers. The quantum resonance scanner. We might be able to modify it into a makeshift telepathic amplifier. Tarn's markings pulsed with surprise. To what end? You said your people sought connection. What if we could broadcast your memories, your experiences, your truth to everyone on this station? Let them see firsthand that you're not a threat. Such an attempt would leave me extremely vulnerable, Tarn warned. If it failed, the hunters would have their perfect opportunity. Then we won't let it fail. Lena was already uncovering the scanner, fingers flying over its controls. I'll need to reconfigure the quantum field matrix. Can you help me understand how your telepathic abilities interact with physical space? As they worked, Tarn shared more about his people's history, their achievements in art and science, their philosophical beliefs, their dedication to healing and growth. Lena found herself increasingly drawn to his gentle wisdom and quiet strength. Your people sound beautiful, she said softly. The galaxy is poorer for their loss. Not complete loss, Tarn corrected. There are others in hiding. Scattered, afraid, but alive. Perhaps, if we succeed here. A massive explosion rocked the vault, making them stumble. Warning lights flashed as the outer doors began to buckle under some kind of molecular deterioration field. They're breaking through. Lena grabbed the modified scanner. It's now or never. Are you ready? Tarn's markings swirled with determination as he placed his hands on the device. With you beside me? Yes. The inner doors burst open as Lena activated the scanner. Energy coursed through Tarn, his entire body glowing as his thoughts and memories cascaded outward. The hunters raised their weapons, then froze as the telepathic wave washed over them. Through their linked minds, Lena experienced fragments of Tarn's past, children playing in crystal gardens, scholars sharing knowledge through thought merge, healers using their gifts to ease suffering. She felt his people's terror during the war, their grief at so much senseless loss, their desperate hope that someday they would find acceptance. The hunters lowered their weapons, confusion evident in their postures as their own prejudices battled against the truth they were experiencing. Station security chose that moment to finally arrive, surrounding the intruders. As the crisis subsided, Lena noticed Tarn swaying on his feet. She caught him before he could fall, supporting his weight against her. That was more draining than expected, he admitted. But worth it, Lena said, watching the hunters being led away in restraints. You showed everyone the truth. No one on this station will fear you now. Tarn's hand found hers, sending a small spark of warmth through their connected minds. I had help. You trusted me without proof, defended me without obligation. Why? Lena smiled, squeezing his hand. Maybe I'm not as immune to a telepathic connection as I thought. His markings shifted to that warm golden hue she was coming to associate with happiness. But before he could respond, her datapad chimed with an urgent message that made her blood run cold. It's from Station Command, she whispered. The hunters weren't working alone. There's a battlecruiser on approach, bearing purifier markings. And they're demanding we hand you over. The peace they'd won was about to be tested in ways neither of them could have imagined. But as Lena met Tarn's glowing purple eyes, she knew with certainty that she would fight beside him, whatever came next. Station Commander Reeves stood before the assembled emergency council, her weathered face grave. The purifier vessel has issued their ultimatum. Either we surrender the Sephron within 6 hours, or they'll open fire. They wouldn't dare attack a civilian station, Lena protested from her seat beside Tarn. The Galactic Alliance would dash. Do nothing, interrupted Counselor Ward, a thin man with cold eyes. The purifiers have powerful allies in the Alliance. Any response would be too late to save our station. Tarn's markings pulsed with a deep indigo that Lena had learned meant distress. I cannot ask you to sacrifice thousands of lives for mine. No one's sacrificing anyone, Lena said firmly, gripping his hand. Through their touch, she felt his turmoil, and something else. A plan forming in his mind that made her heart race with fear. Don't even think about it. The commander raised an eyebrow. Care to share with the rest of us? Tarn straightened in his chair. The purifiers want me because they believe I know the location of other Sephron survivors. They're right. If I surrender myself, negotiate terms dash. They'll kill you, Lena cut in. And then hunt down every last one of your people. Perhaps there's another solution, came a new voice. Dr. Julian Reed, the station's chief of cybernetics, stepped forward. We've been developing a prototype quantum cloak. It's unstable, but it might buy us time to evacuate dash. Or it might tear a hole in space-time, Lena countered, remembering the failed experiments she'd reviewed. The technology isn't ready. It's ready enough, Reed insisted. Working with Dr. Blackwood's data on Sephron biology, I believe we could modify it to dash. A sudden explosion rocked the station. Warning klaxons blared as emergency lights flashed red. They're firing early. Commander Reeves rushed to the command console. Multiple breaches on decks 3 through 7. They're sending boarding parties. Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Through their linked hands, Lena felt Tarn's mind brush hers. Something's wrong. This attack pattern, they knew exactly where to hit us. Realization struck like ice in her veins. She pulled up station schematics on her datapad, overlaying them with the breach points. They're not random. Someone gave them our defensive layouts. Someone inside the station. Her eyes met Dar. Reed's just as he pulled a strange device from his pocket. Tarn shouted a warning, but too late. Reed activated the device and every computer screen in the room went dark. "I'm sorry," Reed said, though his voice held no remorse. "But the Sephrons are too dangerous to exist. Their powers, they could enslave us all." "You're wrong," Lena stepped forward, putting herself between Reed and Tarn. "They're not what you think. You felt the truth yourself during the telepathic broadcast." "What I felt was a manipulation," Reed spat. "A carefully constructed lie. The purifiers showed me the real evidence, recordings of Sephron mind control, entire populations turned into puppets." Through their connection, Lena felt Tarn's surge of anger and grief. "Lies. Those were the acts of a single corrupted individual, one who was stopped by our own people. The purifiers are the real threat," Lena argued. "They're using fear to justify genocide." Reed raised a weapon none of them had noticed. "Step aside, Dr. Blackwood. Don't make me hurt you." Commander Reeves moved to intervene, but Reed's device had locked down the security systems, trapping her behind a force field. More explosions rocked the station as the purifier forces drew closer. In that moment of crisis, Lena felt Tarn's mind fully merge with hers. In an instant, she understood his plan, and its terrible cost. "No," she whispered. "There has to be another way. There isn't time," his thoughts echoed in her mind. "But I need your help. Your knowledge of human biology combined with my abilities, we might save everyone. Even if it kills you. Some things are worth dying for. You taught me that." Reed was growing impatient, his finger tightening on the trigger. "Last chance. Move away from the alien." Instead, Lena stepped closer to Tarn, their hands clasped tight. She felt his power building, combining with her own understanding of organic systems on a cellular level. Together, they could rewrite the laws of biology itself, if only for a moment. "What are you doing?" Reed demanded, seeing the strange light beginning to emanate from their joined forms. "Stop them." But it was too late. The energy wave burst outward, passing through organic matter like sunlight through glass. Every human on the station felt a brief, painless transformation as their neural pathways shifted, creating temporary telepathic bridges. In that endless instant, there could be no lies, no deception. The purifiers boarding the station, Reed, everyone experienced the true history of the Sephron people, their triumphs and failures, their hopes and fears, their fundamental dedication to peace. The cost was devastating. As the wave faded, Tarn collapsed in Lena's arms, his markings dim and fading. She could still feel him in her mind, but his presence was growing weaker. "Stay with me," she pleaded, tears falling onto his silvery skin. "We won. They know the truth now. You can't leave." His purple eyes flickered open, meeting hers with fading light. "Not leaving," his thoughts whispered. "Changing. Evolution requires sacrifice but also rebirth." As station security finally broke through to arrest Reed, as the purifier forces stood down in confusion and revelation, as Commander Reeves began coordinating emergency responses, Lena held Tarn close and prayed that this sacrifice would lead not to an ending, but a new beginning. Lena hadn't left the medical bay in 3 days. She sat beside Tarn's bed, monitoring every slight fluctuation in his vital signs. His silver skin had taken on a crystalline quality, becoming partially transparent in places, with his markings pulsing weakly beneath the surface. "His cellular structure is completely reorganizing itself," she explained to Commander Reeves during one of her regular visits. "It's like nothing I've ever seen, not death, not healing, but evolution." The commander studied the readings with a frown. "And the effects of the telepathic wave?" "Fading in most humans, but some retained a slight sensitivity. Dr. Reed and the captured purifiers are being held in telepathically shielded cells until the Alliance authorities arrive." Lena touched Tarn's hand gently, finding that faint mental connection still present. "He saved us all, and they still want to put him on trial." "Not if I have anything to say about it," Reeves replied firmly. The evidence Reed provided under questioning proves the purifiers fabricated their case against the Sephrons. The Alliance Council is already drafting formal protection orders for any surviving members of the species. A slight pressure on Lena's hand made her jump. Tarn's fingers had moved, and his markings brightened momentarily. Get Dr. Patel in here. Lena called to the medical staff, already running deeper scans. He's responding. Over the next hour, Tarn's readings grew stronger. The crystalline transparency of his skin began to fade, replaced by a new pattern of iridescent markings that seemed to flow like liquid starlight. Finally, his purple eyes opened, but they were different now, with facets like cut gemstones that refracted light in mesmerizing ways. Lena, he whispered, his voice carrying new harmonics that made the air itself seem to vibrate. She clutched his hand tighter, tears falling freely. I thought I'd lost you. Never, his thoughts touched her mind, clearer and stronger than ever before. What was broken had to be rebuilt. The old form could not contain what we became. The telepathic wave, Lena realized. Combining your abilities with human neural patterns didn't just reveal the truth, it triggered some kind of accelerated evolution. Tarn managed a weak smile. My people always believed that understanding between species was the key to our next transformation. We simply never found the right catalyst. His new crystalline eyes met hers. Until now. Commander Reeves cleared her throat. As fascinating as this is, we have a situation developing. The Alliance Council is sending representatives, including some who claim to be surviving Sephron elders. They're very interested in what happened here. Tarn's markings pulsed with surprise. The High Council survived. We thought they were destroyed in the first purifier attacks. Apparently they've been hidden on a protected sanctuary world, gathering evidence against the purifiers and waiting for the right moment to return. Reeves checked her datapad. They're particularly interested in meeting you, Tarn. Or should I say, Prince Tarn. Lena dropped his hand in shock. Prince. Tarn's markings shifted to a color she'd never seen before, something between embarrassment and resignation. I may have omitted certain details about my heritage. Your royalty. Lena stood up, suddenly very aware of all the time she'd treated him like any other patient. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to know me, not my title. He reached for her hand again. After losing everything, discovering who I truly was beyond my rank became important. And then I met you, someone who cared about understanding my true nature, not my status or species. Through their connected minds, Lena felt the depth of his sincerity, and something more, a growing warmth that made her heart race. Well, Commander Reeves said with a knowing smile, I'll let you two sort this out while I prepare for our guests. The Alliance delegation arrives in 12 hours. Try not to trigger any more evolutionary leaps before then. Once they were alone, Lena sat on the edge of Tarn's bed. So. A prince? Does it change things between us? His new crystalline eyes studied her face intently. You mean besides making me feel incredibly underdressed? She smiled to show she was joking, mostly. No. You're still the same person who trusted me, who risked everything to save this station. Although. Her expression grew serious. I imagine a Sephron prince has responsibilities. Your people will need you, especially now. Tarn's markings swirled with that warm golden hue she loved. They will. But I've learned that isolation led to our near destruction. The future of my species lies in connection, with other races, other worlds. His hand cupped her cheek. And I can think of no better ambassador for that future than a xenobiologist who taught me that love knows no boundaries. Love? Lena whispered, her heart pounding. Love, his mind confirmed, sharing emotions too profound for words. As their lips met, Tarn's markings blazed with light, and Lena felt their consciousness merge more deeply than ever before. In that moment, she understood that their journey was far from over, it was just beginning. The Great Hall of Starbase 9 had been transformed for the historic meeting. Crystalline sculptures cast rainbow light across the gathered delegates, Alliance officials, station personnel, and most notably, the 5 surviving members of the Sephron High Council. Lena stood beside Commander Reeves, trying not to fidget in her formal uniform as they waited for Tarn to arrive. The last week had been a whirlwind of debriefings, medical examinations, and diplomatic preparations. The changes triggered by the telepathic wave had stabilized, leaving some humans with a permanent low-level empathic sensitivity, a development that was already reshaping interspecies relations. Nervous? Reeves asked quietly. Terrified, Lena admitted. What if the council doesn't approve of a human-Sephron relationship? What if they want to take him back to their sanctuary world? Then they'll have a fight on their hands, the commander said with a hint of steel in her voice. After what you two did for this station, you have more allies than you realize. The door opened, and Lena's breath caught. Tarn entered wearing traditional Sephron robes that seemed to flow like liquid starlight. His new crystalline features caught the light, creating halos of colored light that danced around him. But it was his expression when he saw her that made her heart skip, pure joy reflected in those faceted purple eyes. The High Council rose as one, their own markings pulsing in recognition. The eldest, a female called Matriarch Vena, stepped forward. Prince Tarn, she said, her voice carrying the same musical resonance as his. You have walked a long and difficult path. Tarn bowed deeply. My path led me exactly where I needed to be. His eyes met Lena's across the room. To exactly who I needed to meet. So we see, Vena's gaze shifted to Lena. Come forward, Dr. Blackwood. We would speak with the one who helped catalyze our people's transformation. Lena approached on slightly shaky legs, but Tarn moved to stand beside her, taking her hand. Through their connection, she felt his unwavering support. Your bond is unusual, another council member observed. Unprecedented. The best things usually are, Lena replied, drawing strength from Tarn's presence. Your people sought understanding between species. We've proven it's possible, not just possible, but vital for growth and evolution. Vena's markings shifted thoughtfully. And what of your duties, Prince Tarn? Our people need leadership in this new age. They need connection more, Tarn said firmly. I propose establishing an Institute of Interspecies Relations here on Starbase 9. A place where Sephrons can emerge from hiding and work openly with other races, sharing knowledge and building bridges. His hand squeezed Lena's. With Dr. Blackwood's help, we can ensure that fear and isolation never again threaten our people's existence. A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Commander Reeves stepped forward. Starbase 9 would be honored to host such an institute. Our location at the crossroads of multiple species territories makes us ideal for this purpose. And the remaining purifiers, asked one of the Alliance officials. Will face justice, Vena declared. But not revenge. We will not answer hatred with hatred. She turned to Tarn and Lena. Your proposal has merit, young prince. And your choice of partner. Her markings glowed with approval. Shows wisdom beyond your years. Relief flooded through their shared mental link. Tarn pulled Lena closer, his joy radiating like sunlight. There is one other matter, Vena continued. The evolutionary changes you experienced, our scientists believe they may represent the next stage of Sephron development. A transformation made possible only through genuine connection with another species. She smiled. It seems love truly does transcend all boundaries. Speaking of love, Commander Reeves interjected with a grin, I'm authorized to perform interspecies marriage ceremonies. Lena felt her face flush as Tarn's markings blazed with that beautiful golden light. What do you say, Dr. Blackwood? He asked aloud, while his mind shared visions of their future together, building the institute, exploring the galaxy, breaking down barriers between species one connection at a time. Ready for the next evolution? Looking into his crystalline eyes, feeling the depth of their bond, Lena knew there was only one possible answer. With you? Always. The great hall erupted in applause as they sealed their promise with a kiss. Around them, saffron markings pulsed in harmony, human emotions resonated through their newfound empathic sensitivity, and the barriers between species grew just a little bit thinner. Later, as they stood on their favorite observation deck watching the stars, Lena rested her head against Tarn's chest. You know, when you first walked into my lab, I never imagined we'd end up here. No. His thoughts wrapped around hers like a warm embrace. I knew the moment I saw you that everything was about to change. For the better, Lena said softly. For the best, Tarn corrected, pulling her close as they watched distant suns birth new worlds of possibility. And in the vastness of space, their love shone like a beacon, proving that the greatest discoveries often come not from studying the stars, but from opening our hearts to those who seem most different from ourselves.